Good morning, everyone. Just coming up on 10 o'clock. I can see we've just got people arriving as we speak, so we'll just give it a minute or two and then we'll get going here. Anybody got a good joke in the meantime? I have some, but they're strictly dad jokes, so I think I'll keep them to myself. Oh, I see Devin's just joined us. Devin probably has some good dad jokes as well, despite not being a dad or anything, but all right, well, I can see we still got some people coming on, but I'm a big believer in getting started on time and making sure we're finished on time, so I will jump in. We also have a bit of an intro to start, so yeah, nobody's going to miss too much as they come on within the next few minutes. We've got a few people from the Plus ROI team with us today. Yuri's online and he'll be helping manage some of the Q&A, and Ryan's our technical genius on search engine optimization, so he's around in case I get into trouble.
Hey.
And I also see Summer's joined us, which is great. Hey, Summer. And there we go. And there is an early question about getting a video copy, and actually Zoom is awesome for recording videos. So we do have it recording right now. You know what? I'm just going to double check at the top. Yeah, it asked me if I want to pause recording. So I'm going to assume that means it is recording. We will distribute that via email as well as the slides afterwards. So there's no need to worry about that. And yeah, it'll be forever up there. The screw ups that I'm bound to and tongue twisters that I'm bound to get into as I go through. So they'll be up forevermore. So let's jump in. So great to have we had a great response to this webinar. I think we had something like 80 plus people sign up, which is fantastic. And these have been a series of webinars we've been doing since kind of this current crisis started, and really just trying to empower some people to make use of some time for companies that have a bit of downtime and sometimes not the biggest budgets right at the moment with everything that's going on. So we've been helping people, basically helping educate people a bit about some of these topics, and gotten really good feedback, and it's been sort of really encouraging. And interestingly, we've also had a few people come on as new clients out of them, just upon being educated, deciding that they don't want to do it themselves. So that's been a nice bonus for us as well. So personally, I am what you would call a rare internet generalist, or in today's lingo, the full stack marketer, which of course leave it to us tech people to come up with a new term and a new concept for something that's been around for about 100 years. Yeah, basically what I mean by that is I've been in the industry for 20 years now, which is pretty scary, but nonetheless, full-time web marketer for 20 years, working internationally in a bunch of different areas, including email, advertising, content and SEO. And so managed to kind of luck out with that experience and get a really good background across all the channels, which usually most of the experts, and to be fair too, I wouldn't consider myself an absolute expert in any of those areas, but typically you see people going down one path. So somebody is an expert in one area, and just due to my advanced age and how long I've been in the industry, I get a pretty good view of all the channels, which it has been a real benefit because it helps us figure out strategies for clients and people we work with from a channel agnostic perspective, and gives a good perspective to present on stuff like this. And so this is going to be a pretty quick presentation. We've got an hour. We're going to finish the presentation within the hour, although I'm definitely happy to stay on the call after the formal part's done, answer questions. We might even do some fun brainstorming if anybody wants to sort of throw out what they're trying to accomplish with their website, and happy to make some suggestions and do some fun brainstorming. So we'll leave that for the end. In the meantime, we'll move pretty quickly. Please, if there's questions, go ahead and ask them as we go. The quick ones we'll address as we go, and anything more extensive we'll kind of leave until afterwards. And basically what you can expect is an overview that'll get you off to a great start on your strategy. We'll touch on things that that we constantly and consistently see clients kind of not getting, and company after company, even large ones, don't properly address a lot of these things. So yeah, you'll be in a good spot to go forth and adapt your own strategy. So first off, what is SEO? And historically, people think of sort of geeky people in dark rooms with spreadsheets and lists of keywords and that. And to be fair, there's definitely a technical side to it, but it's really changed. There's not so much trickery anymore. It's really about good quality content and the associated activity that goes with that. And it's really not just a standalone activity. So, I mean, to be good at it, and even more, and by good at, I mean even going beyond just simply appearing for certain searches, you gotta really get invested in customer interest research. You gotta test the sort of content you're publishing. You gotta basically create a lot of great content that people want to consume. You have to promote it. I hear so often people talking about like, oh yeah, well, my web developer told me that we have this blog so that we just post content and it improves our SEO. No, it really doesn't work that way. I mean, it's having regular posted fresh content is definitely a good signal, but essentially there's very few people that visit blogs because they're on a website. It's really, I guess, to my own experience, I mean, we're a small company, but if we post a blog post, until it gets picked up by SEO, and it doesn't even always, get picked up, we'll have, maybe just 10, 20 people see it on the blog. We put it in the newsletter, and then maybe, 50 or 100 people click through and see it. And then, what we do is we promote it as well. And that's what we do for most anybody we work with as well, is basically, if you're going to go to take an hour or two to create a great post, possibly much longer even, spending $20 to get some traction in Facebook and to start the flywheel and get things moving, well worth it. You have to get good at that to be in practical terms. There's influence engagement, conversion optimization and strategy, the measurement, analysis, changing directions, and kind of ongoing effort in all those things. It really is a multi-channel holistic effort now. So what we often see broken about SEO is kind of what I said a moment ago, is shortcuts on creating content. Creating content, it's not a checklist item. You can't just check off your list that we did 2 posts this month, so we're looking good, or a post every week, and yeah, we got that done. It really has to be, you really have to get good at it, and you really have to understand what your most valuable visitors and customers want to consume in terms of content. Lots of people don't have a strategic approach to it, and that's what we're going to help address today. Another one we see all the time is companies kind of blindly pursuing traffic and SEO without considering, well, if people do click through and come to our website, is our website set up in such a manner that will actually take advantage of that traffic? Can we get somebody from a blog post into a relationship with us? Is there a call to action on the page? Do we make it really clear and obvious what the next step that somebody should take is? And then, of course, not using strategic or appropriate keywords. And basically, we're going to touch on all those things and really get looking at a good sort of starter strategy for folks. And I'm going to go through this in a linear process today, but it really is not a linear process. I mean, you typically jump around, you go back and forth. What we're going to look at today, there is no necessarily set order for it, but yeah, I wish there was a super clear process that we could use over and over again, but typically that's not the case. So with that said, let's get moving into the fun stuff here. So there are different levels of search engine optimization, and at the very sort of start of the pyramid is your brand and company search engine optimization. And this is kind of your minimum requirement, or should be your minimum requirement if you're gonna even have a website in the first place. And this is basically making sure that your NAP, or your name, address, and phone number information, is included in all the major online legitimate directories, that you have a Google My Business listing with that in it. Basically, you know, if you've got a Facebook page or LinkedIn page, that they have consistent naming, that your products are clearly named. And essentially, you know, if you don't have that in place, you risk not even showing up for your own brand name. So obviously everybody here is probably at that stage and wanting to move forward. So kind of the next level of difficulty or level in the pyramid is your local search engine optimization. And that's being able to show up prominently in the city that you're located in. There's a couple caveats there, but we'll get to that. And this is the most suitable. Like if you're a lawyer or a chiropractor or a physio, if you have a restaurant or you do local professional services, this is exactly what you want to be doing and where you want to be good at. And Google knows that basically all the services I just mentioned, Google knows that location is hugely important. As I'll give a software example, but like if I'm searching for a piece of software, Google knows that I really don't give a crap where the software manufacturer is located. However, if I'm searching for takeout pizza, Google knows that location is critically important. So that's where there is this sort of specialty of local SEO. And we're not going to get into execution today, but the big thing I would throw out there is that if you haven't claimed and optimized your Google My Business listing, absolutely do that. That's having a decent website and then having that Google My Business listing. The importance of the Google My Business just can't be understated. So then sort of multi-location SEO, it basically is local SEO. It's just for companies with multiple locations. And, you know, this is great for franchises or chains or any business that has locations in multiple cities or does extensive business in multiple specific cities. And this is a area that we've done a bunch of work in, and it's great because if done correctly, the strength of your overall network will benefit all the locations. You get a great competitive advantage in all the cities. Done badly, and you may not show up in any of them. Again, there are a couple key guidelines here around, in this case, the Google My Business for each city is critical. Having a location page for each city with the city mentioned prominently with some unique content from page to page for the different city pages is important. Ideally, you actually want to embed your Google My Business map right on that location page. That helps close the loop with Google. Again, we're not getting in too much into execution on that front though, so we're going to carry on. Then of course there's national SEO. And I kind of wrestled actually with looking at, like, is there really such a thing as national or is it international? And the answer is that yeah, in doing some more research and thought around it, national search engine optimization absolutely is a thing, particularly for e-commerce. And Google actually understands that typically that people want to shop from their local country if they're doing e-commerce or retail. So great example is Home Depot. If I Google Home Depot, more often than not, the Canadian site is going to show up. Whereas if I'm in the state, being in Canada, of course, and if I'm in the US and I Google Home Depot, guaranteed homedepot.com is going to show up instead of the .ca. So Google is absolutely making distinctions on a national level. And so yeah, I mean, it's the Google My Business and that sort of thing becomes less important, but there's yeah, some challenges. Once you get to a national level, it gets quite competitive.
Hey, Rob.
Yes, sir.
We had a timely question from Erica. She was asking, what if you work across the country? I offer cloud-based solutions. So I was wondering if you had any comments on that.
Yeah, so, well, in that case, I mean, basically, for somebody doing cloud-based solutions, it's probably there's going to be no particular difference in the national versus international, but you are going to have to focus on yeah, competing with some pretty big corporations. So that's where sort of a niche keyword strategy is probably going to come into play. If assuming, I'm guessing, might be a bit of a smaller company, but yeah, and that's really the challenge. And we're going to jump in there and see some examples there. So we'll carry on, and I
Cool.
hope that answered it at least a little bit. And again, so the international search engine optimization is, like I said, downloadable software. Nobody cares where the company is. They just want the best downloadable software. And Google recognizes that as well. And you know, the reason these levels are important is just because you're going to do different things, and you're going to approach your strategy differently according to what level you're at. And generally, the level of competition goes up with each one. So that also has a huge role in dictating whether you're going to target sort of high volume attractive keywords, or whether you've got to look into some niche keywords. And yeah, with that said, we will jump into how you sort of start making some of these decisions. And first, keyword intent. And what we mean by that is keywords themselves don't have intent. It should almost say searcher intent. And basically, when somebody types a search query into Google, the nature of what they type in can really determine or really illustrate how serious they are about making a purchase, whether they're looking for information or whether they're looking to purchase something. This becomes critical, and it gets overlooked quite often. And what we usually see is that companies focus on the highest traffic keywords at the expense of these lower volume keywords that might display way greater intent. And from, like we're a Google Premier ad agency, so we do millions and millions of dollars worth of advertising on Google. And I can say without hesitation that a sort of high intent search query is worth literally, like 10 would be on the very low side. A high intent search query is probably worth 100 to 1,000 times what one of these broad search categories, search keywords is. Sometimes on the really broad searches, we never see anybody buy from one of them. Whereas you can have, you know, a high intent query, which we'll get into in a moment. You know, you might have a conversion rate that's like 10%. So like 1 out of 10 people converts, whereas you might see it'll be a 0.0 something on the broad ones. So just fun quiz, don't have to write this down or anything, but let's take a second as we go through. We're going to show a couple keyword pairs, and just you'll see some of the logic around, you know, intent versus general searches. So we'll start near and dear to my heart, mountain biking. Santa Cruz is a big manufacturer. So if somebody Googles Santa Cruz bicycles versus Santa Cruz Bronson carbon price in Canada, which one of those is likely to be more likely, where someone's going to be more likely to purchase? And I think the answer is pretty obvious, but of course, yeah, people often go for those really broad terms. So again, this is where, particularly as smaller companies like ourselves, if we're competing against bigger companies, basically the narrower you go, usually the less competition there is, which dovetails nicely with the fact that usually they're better keywords in the first place. Less traffic, but better keywords. So here's a local services example. So if somebody's searching chiropractor, I mean, they could be looking up the profession. They could be wanting to find out if chiropractors are, you know, officially doctors or not, versus Chiropractor Seattle. All of a sudden, oh, the city's included. It's like, oh, well, you know, that means that it matters to somebody where the chiropractor is located, and that they probably are looking for a chiropractor. If you get downtown Seattle chiropractor open Saturday, which is very fine, but even if it was chiropractor open Saturday or downtown Seattle chiropractor, all of a sudden you're in a situation where you've got somebody who's probably got a store back, who's looking for a chiropractor like right now, planning on making an appointment. So obviously the value in that case is pretty clear about the higher intent and more focused. Again, pizza versus pizza near me. And it's funny because it seems so obvious, but a lot of people just have a hard time wrapping their heads around why these lower volume searches are more important. Pizza, of course, could be somebody looking for a recipe for pizza versus pizza near me. They're going to order a pizza. And again, something like, say, photo software as a real general term versus somebody who's Googling desktop photo software for PNG transparent export, which again is a real, that would be what we'd call not just niche, but long tail keywords. And but that is the sort of searches that you see, and there's ways of adapting so that you can absolutely show up for those type of searches. And again, these are things that you can compete at even on a national level if you're a bit of a smaller company. So quick question, anybody have any suggestions for their own industry, or does anybody want to throw out their website URL and have us think of a couple high intent keywords that would apply to them? This gives me a good moment to have a couple sips of coffee, but we'll give it a couple secs to see if anything shows up. There we go. Michael. So we've got, oh, I missed my sip of coffee here. So I can see right now that, yeah, sober coach, family consultant, Victoria, BC. So that's great. You're probably going to be showing up for local searches in Victoria. This is a tough one just because I'm not super familiar with your specific industry, but let's let's go to Google and interesting. So there are people searching for that, obviously by city and apparently nationally as well. So that we won't go too far down this road, but oh, and Michael, there you are showing up. This will probably be because we're both in Victoria, BC. But what I'm going to suggest is I don't have a perfect obvious suggestion for you, other than, you know what I mean, I guess it probably what I might suggest actually would be for different types of substance abuse, probably like recovery coach or sober coach for blank addiction. Something like that would probably be a fantastic opportunity. And that would be something you could do as a bit of a blog strategy. Let's have a quick look at make Vancouver one. Oops, apparently did not quite copy that. One sec. And then for ones that we don't get to right now, happy to chat later on once we're finished the presentation. So make Vancouver. So interesting. First off, one note I would absolutely have for you is that having a nice chunk of text somewhere on the homepage that explains what your site is all about is huge for search engine optimization. Google indexes on the basis of text, and so I'm just looking. There may not be any text to speak of on here in a crawlable fashion. So. Yeah, definitely jumping in there. And it looks like you do yeah, I mean, the mask one is interesting because like if there is search for like self-designed mask, design your own face mask. Yeah, that's another interesting. Oh, so all sorts of stuff. Assuming you've got Vancouver in there, so embroidery at, looking at terms like DIY embroidery or embroidery instructions or embroidery supplies. Something like embroidery supplies Vancouver on this page, that might be a great thing to experiment with. And again, we'll jump off this for now, but definitely we'll come back around later on. So I'm just going to go back into the slides. I'm being mindful of time. So what we're going to do now is do sort of a quick sort of speed run through developing a strategy. And we'll use the example of our Jumpstart website. The Jumpstart Web's a division of Plus ROI, and it hasn't actually had a complete keyword strategy developed. The site got launched last year, and been quite blessed to be busy and haven't taken the time to really dig in on the SEO front. So that's something we'll just have a look as if we were approaching that from scratch. So let's start with the homepage keyword. And the homepage is the most important page on the site, almost without exception, and that's kind of where you want to start. So let's jump in there. So some good starting points. And I'll kind of mix between going live and doing this. I've got slides just in case something goes wrong. But and as you can see, as I start typing in web, it's showing all these auto suggestions. So this is a great starting point. Here's some opportunities to learn from and to build on, as we'll see in a minute. And one thing I do as well is, as we're going through this sort of process, I'll just grab actually open up notes and just keep some notes on the keywords that I'm seeing as we go through this process. Doesn't have to be fancy or high tech. So anyhow, here's my list of, web marketing company near me. Oh, that's interesting. That's trending in most every industry, that near me thing. Network marketing, that's not relevant. Oh, internet marketing agency. Okay, we're kind of starting to get a sense of some of the terms for what you might consider. And then there's the first page of your competition. So I'm located in Victoria, so it's obviously Victoria companies that are showing up. Fortunately, our parent company, Plus ROI, is showing up in the search, both in the Google My Business that's up there, as well as in the organic results down below, which is great. Sort of competitive SEO and figuring out how to beat that other company that's ahead of us. That's another story. But actually, fortunately, Yuri, who's on the call here, is just going to be leading up a new SEO approach for us, so that'll be interesting. So again, these give us a starting point for some companies that we want to look at and want to be sort of competing with. So what we're going to do is moz.com, which I believe both has a free trial, as well as having a certain number of free uses each month for their link explorer tool. You can go in and get a report on domain authority. And basically, Google ditched their old PageRank mechanism, or at least they stopped making the PageRank publicly, where they previously ranked sites and made the rankings available. But this domain authority that shows up in Link Explorer is a great proxy for Google's PageRank. It's been around for forever, really. It used to be called Open Site Explorer. Moz bought it. They ran it for some years, changed the name recently, but we consider this to be the most accurate proxy for how authoritative a site is. And the interesting thing is that they're not actually measuring the on-page, the content optimization. They're just looking at the signals for the website. So really, this gives you a sense of what your potential is. And so in short, well, just like I'm doing right here, there's so Jumpstart Web, been around for a year. We've got a domain authority of 16, which is okay for that. These other companies, kind of funny, I know all the owners of all these other companies. They're all nice people. Been around, and so the domain authorities are ranging between sort of 28, 34, 10, and 27. What really catches my eye here is, if Market IQ is showing up with a domain authority of 10, and we already have a domain authority of 16, basically we can beat them on that page. If we do a better job of strategically optimizing for that keyword that I use to generate those page results, eventually we will show up ahead of them. It can be tricky at times, and Google takes a while, but essentially, if you have a higher domain authority than other sites, you can have a great degree of confidence that you can beat them after you've optimized. And I will just quickly go to Moz.com. So here is the tool. Yeah, you know what? I think I still got, yeah, there we go, make Vancouver. There's your domain. You've got, oh, that's great. You've got a domain authority of 37. What that you've got, holy crap. Yeah, you guys apparently have some fans because you've got 439 different domains pointed to you with 65,000 inbound links. Really the two numbers that we look at are that domain authority and the number of linking domains. And in particular, we'll do a further report and look at the number of followed domains. I'm going to leave that at that for the moment. We don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. But then what you can do as well is just go click on compare link profiles. And then you can add another one. So just totally irrelevant comparison. What you would do would be to add all your competitors in here and those first page competitors. And some of the ones lower on the page, like you don't want to, you're not going to compete out of the gates probably with the sites at the top of the page. Also, if you're in an industry, for instance, like healthcare, where a lot of sort of national health providers and government agencies will show up, you don't want to compare yourself to those, just ignore those, but look for any other, say, private practitioners that are showing up. So in this case, we have Michael, and oh, so he's not been too active in SEO, probably got a domain authority of 12. That's, again, in this case, we're looking at two different businesses, but if you were comparing, be like, oh, okay, we're not necessarily going to be able to beat Nick Vancouver anytime soon for specific keywords. And then further down, you can see there's our followed linking domains, which is, again, the two ones that we look at above all else are the domain authority, and then that followed linking domains, which is the number of unique domains that are allowing followed links to. And anyhow, as mentioned, I can't go too far down that rabbit hole, or we'll be here at 3 o'clock. So anyhow, that's how you do that basic sort of comparison. And then looking at a national level, oh, Jumpstart Web, well, we've got a domain authority of 16 a year in, which is all right. Oh, this iProspect, oh, if we're going to compete with them, they've got a domain authority of 63. And what I know is that 5 years from now, Jumpstart Web is probably not going to have a domain authority of 63. Companies that are in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they probably actually have a full-time person devoted to search engine optimization. And a content team and that sort of stuff. And so suffice to say, we're not going to try and even rank for terms nationally like that. And this is interesting, where as a local company, in a sense, we'll just be resigned to the fact that we will likely be able to rank locally. We're not going to rank nationally. If you are a national company, what you have to do is have a look. And this is where you're going to be strategic in picking keywords where you do actually have a chance of winning. Because again, if we're 16 and we have services that are relevant nationally and don't necessarily have a local flavor to them, it's like, wow, iProspect is going to kick our butt on the high volume, highly competitive keywords. Let's look for some of those niche keywords that we can rank for. And so the next step, identifying keywords. SpyFu is another great tool. I can't remember if they currently have a free trial or not, but actually all these tools we're looking at, you can do monthly subscriptions and they're not heinously expensive. So even if you just do a single month and do all the research you want to on all your competitors, super well worth it. So in this example, I punched in that iprospect.com, and you know what, this is a great one to walk through rather than look at a slide. So jump over to, and I'll go back to the start. Spell it correctly. Easier said than done. Oh, here we go. SpyFu, as the name suggests, does a fantastic job of spying on your competitors. It actually shows you, it shows their paid search activity as well as their organic search activity. And oh, they've got 1,400 organic keywords that they're ranking for, and an estimated of 30,000 monthly SEO clicks. So hey, let's just click through on the keywords and see what they've got. I did this exercise previously, and oh, actually maybe these guys aren't quite as relevant as I thought. There's not really a ton of overlap with what we're doing at Jumpstart Web. So you know what, going from that said, who's competing with them? Oh, there's this opus.com. What's their deal? So I'll click on them. Boom. Here's the activity for opus.com. Looks like they're not doing, oh, I should have started actually on the overview. You can go down, you can see who they overlap with. You can look at the different companies there. And when going through the process myself, clicked around a few of these and ended up uncovering, was it Hoopla Digital? Yeah, these guys have 17,000 organic keywords that they're ranking for, 853,000 estimated monthly searches. And let's have a little, let's just click through to their keywords. Oh, and this apparently is the wrong one. It was, I'm gonna cheat and just hit the back button a few times. This would be one of those screw ups that I was mentioning that will be recorded forever. Fingers crossed. There we go, hoopla.com. So click on the organic keywords for that one. And you can see how quick this is coming together. I mean, it's worth taking some time, but there's a lot of stuff you can do quite quickly. Digital marketing, join marketing agency, digital agencies, media agency. This is along the lines of kind of what I'm thinking of, say, for the homepage. Some interesting. So with that, you know, I'll augment that little notepad that I'm keeping. I'll make some notes. I'll write down a few more keywords that I think are quite relevant. And then, as I mentioned here, you know, try the different competitors. So you find one that makes sense for your firm. Find a few. You can look at all your competitors. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't need to be, it can be national competitors, it can be local competitors, anybody you want to put in there. It can be different countries. If you've got the time, you can check out basically every meaningful one in your agency. So again, so what I've gotten to a point now is I've got some starter keywords for the homepage that I want to consider. And so far haven't defined anything, but basically the rubber is about to hit the road on this. We're now going to jump into Google. And one thing that I should mention as well is that while we're doing this process for the homepage right now, if you have, say for instance, in this example, Jumpstart Web does simple WordPress websites, and it does digital advertising, PPC, like Google Ads, and that's basically it. So each of those pages or sections, you'd repeat that process for those specific terms. So you might, depending on the size of your site, you might go through this process once or twice, or you might actually go through it 15 times for a different range of services, because each set of results you get are going to be specific to that service that you're looking at. Time for a quick sip. So the Google Keyword Tool is within the Google Ads interface, and it's not perfect, but it's about as good as we're going to get. And one thing that's interesting is the Google Keyword Tool. They used to have it so that it did what's called broad match, which meant that formerly, when I started using the tool, it way overestimated the search volume of different keywords. What they've done now is made it so that it goes on exact match, which that means that basically it only shows the number of average monthly searches for those exact terms. So now it actually kind of underestimates the volume. But the exact actual volume isn't really what we're looking for here. We're looking at comparative volume to make some decisions. So, and as I was mentioning too, the tool is free, although you do have to sign up for a Google Ads account. And the interface is pretty straightforward. I mean, you go to the, I'll start from fresh. Go to the keyword planner. In this example, I just had Canada selected, which is probably relevant for my Jumpstart Web one, but you can have other ones. You might have Canada in the US, you might have it worldwide. So we usually just, the simplest way in is discover new keywords, which I'm clicking on. And you type in up to 10 different starter keywords, return or click get results, and boom, there you have it. You get the, so web marketing Canada is not a widely searched term. So let's try a web marketing agency. And then get results. And there we go. Yeah, that one's not showing up as huge either. Not a lot of volume there, but then we look down, oh, web agency, online marketing companies, web design agency, digital marketing website. So it makes tons of suggestions. And essentially, you go through this process section by section, sometimes page by page, and refine down to until you find a keyword that actually makes sense. So let me just jump back over the slides. So in this case, it's like, oh, internet marketing. And in this case, I'm kind of curious. Okay, well, I've been looking at internet, web, online, digital, all these different variations. Which terms are people using the most? So I typed these 4 variations and I was like, oh, wow, digital marketing. We actually don't optimize for that and have never optimized for that. Maybe we're totally missing something. So I'm like, okay, digital and online seem the most kind of popular there, but let's just carry on and see what we see. So we refine it a bit. So I've added, okay, so I've added internet marketing, web marketing. I've added some variations on agency, online agency, digital marketing agency, and then, whoa, internet marketing company. And this is Canada only. So with the US results, it would make that more than 10 times the volume as well. So internet marketing 2,400. Oh, I had not kind of really noticed that one before, but hey, that's all of a sudden kind of exciting. Like that's a term that there's some volume for. So, and again, this is a case where I mentioned it's not necessarily a linear process. At this juncture, I would quite possibly go back to, I would search this exact term. If I'm just thinking it's one that I want to go through as a main keyword, internet marketing company, I'd go search using that term, find out who the competitors are, go back to moz.com, use the Site Explorer tool, find out the domain authority of the other competitors, and kind of make sure that we're going to be able to rank for it. But now I've got, hey, so let's just assume that all worked out, and internet marketing company is something that that I'm ready to commit to. Then we go to the SEO Matrix. And this is a really interesting thing because this is something that we came up with internally. Ryan, who's on the call, did this template. It's pretty sophisticated because it actually tracks the number of characters as you're building out page titles and meta descriptions to make sure you don't go over. But one thing that's interesting is we came up with this kind of all on our own. This is like after getting into doing SEO kind of 2000 in a serious manner around 2010. It's like, hey, we need something like this. What I've since discovered is that most every agency that is serious about search engine optimization services has something that looks almost identical to this. So essentially what you're doing in here is you're mapping out your pages. So the Jumpstart one's a great example because there's only like 8 pages or something on it. So your home page, services pages, whatever. And so you've got columns for what page it is, the URL of the page, your target keywords, and then secondary ones. So I'm kind of throwing internet marketing company. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you put down secondary keywords. So Jumpstart Web, our brand, is actually obviously a secondary keyword. Digital marketing, online marketing, those are some variations that we might want to rank for. And where these secondary keywords are important is that with search engine optimization, you used to do almost like exact, like you used to pick your keywords so that it was exactly what someone was searching for. And Google, as they're pretty good at, has realized that, hey, that's not really the best thing for searchers. So they now do kind of, as much as finding the absolute best keyword is important, you're really kind of looking at topics now. So in 2010, we would have been thinking, oh, we've got an internet marketing page. Let's come up with an online marketing page and a digital marketing page. And we'd have, you'd come up with these weird pages that were really created as variations to try and rank for search, and that wasn't serving anybody. So Google has moved to much more natural language. So essentially what we do is we add those secondary keywords that we uncovered to try and weave those into the text on the page. And then basically you write your page title, you write your meta description, you're ready to go for that page. I mean, that's sort of as simple as it is. And essentially this meta page title, which I believe sort of 55 to 65 characters, I think is about how long it's supposed to be. As you're probably guessing, I'm not the technical expert in the company at the moment. And then your meta description, I think it's sort of 150-ish, 150 to 60 characters. They have actually made some changes in that. And that essentially is what you're going to embed in your website on your page. And that's going to be your Google headline and your Google sort of body copy. And this doesn't have the current ones because they're not added yet. The ones we're just researching. But currently, if you Google and find Jumpstart Web, it's Jumpstart Web. This is our meta page title, the search engine marketing Victoria, BC. This is the description. And then again, for the services page, you can see it's different. Digital marketing services. That was, I guess, the keyword we came up with at that point. And then again, a description related to that. It's absolutely a best practice to get your target keyword into that meta page title, if at all possible. Sometimes you might have a really long one, it won't quite fit, but you really, really want to get it in the meta page title, and that does affect your search ranking. It's generally considered to be a best practice to have the keyword in your description, although it's not thought to affect your actual ranking if it's in the description or not. So really with the description, if the keyword will go in it, that's great, but what you're really shooting for is the absolute most persuasive description possible. And this too is where a lot of companies kind of fall down. Like we did some SEO work with, at the time, one of the top 10 traffic websites on the planet, a photo sharing site. And they had never taken the time to customize their page titles to be more persuasive. And so that was kind of a fun win where we got to look, really smart for doing something that you would learn kind of the first day doing any sort of training in SEO. But nonetheless, we'll take that win. But there are definitely, and this is kind of an art of your strategy, is that it's not just finding that keyword, it's making these things as persuasive as possible, because you can influence the rate at which people click on your results by having more persuasive titles and descriptions. So adding titles and descriptions to your site, I mean, this is pretty simple. Most typical cases using WordPress with the Yoast plugin, but these days almost any website platform supports custom page titles and descriptions. Kind of funny, we still get on to somebody who'll be doing like a Drupal or Joomla site, and it's like, oh no, the developer hasn't installed the feature to allow us to use custom titles, so they're just being created automatically. And if you haven't done custom ones, Google sort of looks at your page and guesses what it should put in there. So that's where when you see some really funny written search results and page titles, or more often the descriptions that really don't make sense, that's because somebody hasn't done these custom page titles and descriptions. Super easy process, but just for fun, I will click in. There's that Jumpstart website. I will edit page. Give it a sec to come up. Scroll down through the content areas. And there's Yoast SEO. As you can see, we haven't made everything perfect because we're getting a yellow indicator instead of a green indicator. I just put jumpstart with the title thing as the focus key phrase in here. You would actually, if you want to use Yoast's analysis tools, you would absolutely put your focus keyword right in this spot. And then to add the custom page title and description, you just click in and they get, oh, here's your title. See, we literally just, from this page, oops, copy, paste, there we go. And then we do the same with the description and save it. And that would now be our meta page title and description. There are some tools down below here that shows, oh, we don't have any outbound links from the homepage. It gives you a green, amber, or red rating. One thing that always cracks me up is I get folks who are fixated on the Yoast sort of ratings that are feeling like the green light is absolutely critical and they'll do everything in their power to get the green light going, but they haven't actually taken the time to do a proper keyword strategy up front. And Yoast is a great tool, but it is blind to strategy. It has no idea about strategy. It will tell you if your keyword's optimized on the page, but it will not tell you if it's the right keyword to start with. And that's where this SEO matrix is critical. And one thing, again, without getting too much into execution, one thing I'd highlight is simply that basically you're looking at one keyword per page and one page per keyword. And I should kind of say keyword topic in saying that. Google is brilliant at identifying what the main topic of a page is. And so that's where, there are some more sophisticated companies that if you've been doing it for a long time and you already have results with one keyword or keyword topic, you might be able to optimize a page for a second keyword topic. That's pretty rare and you have to be pretty advanced to get to that point. So for the time being, just consider it one keyword topic per page, and then it only makes sense to have, and you wouldn't have that same keyword topic on multiple pages. One minor example there is that with blog posts where you're doing a strategy to support the keyword, you may well do some overlap there, but that's sort of a separate issue. So let's just jump back here. And so what's next? Basically, you're going to go through the process that we just went through. It'll look different for everyone's different site, but you'll do that process for all the important pages on your website. For the pages that aren't critical, like ones like the contact page that are not typically showing up in search, you still want to have a coherent page title and page description, but absolutely you're really not going to worry too much about doing keyword research for your contact page or things like that. You're also going to want to determine how to measure the results of your efforts over time. What we really like to focus on from the perspective of improvements in search engine optimization is looking at your non-brand monthly organic search volume. So that's basically the volume of search traffic to your website on a monthly basis that is not related to your brand name. Because your brand searches are highly influenced by advertising, activities in the community, networking, all that stuff. So what you want to do is find out, you want to separate that and just look at the overall traffic for people searching terms like that relate to your services or products, not specifically your brand name. And then separately, Google Search Console is a great provides great keyword level metrics. And it basically shows you your average position for different keywords. There are an absolute ton of other things that you'll need to do for an SEO strategy, but starting with a smart keyword strategy is absolutely one of the most critical things. We're taking a short break for a shameless plug. Just wanted to share a tiny bit about our agency. First off, I'm readily available. Feel free to email me. I'm also on LinkedIn. Love connecting on LinkedIn. It's my favorite social platform. I'm happy to answer questions. Yeah, love to give advice and happy to answer simple questions. So really don't hold back from getting in touch. If it's too complex to responsibly answer, I'll just let you know, but I absolutely never mind being asked. And we got a super skilled team. We got 9 people on our team right now. So what that means is that we have experts in every single area. I mean, we do everything from across the different divisions, from, simple startup websites for, the chiropractor around the corner, right through to doing international level e-commerce sites for major brands over on the Plus ROI side with the team that Ryan leads, but and everything in between. Email marketing, an absolute ton of pay-per-click, digital advertising. Feel pretty good about recommending us if you've got any questions on the advertising front. So anyhow, I'm not here to sell to you, and we don't, this is an educational thing, so I won't go on any further, but just please know that if you are looking for services, we'd love to have a friendly chat at any time. And yeah, so that's it for the plug. So some more resources. We will let you know about future webinars. Ones are coming up. We've actually got into a cadence of doing 1 per month right now. So haven't decided on the topic for July's yet, but we will be doing one. One thing that might be handy is that the past webinars are currently archived on our Plus ROI blog. So we've got there's a DIY conversion optimization one that's highly relevant, DIY SEO audit. And that DIY SEO audit would probably be a great one for a lot of the folks who are looking for more information about other things to do in SEO after establishing the strategy. It does look like we have a couple minutes left. So blog keyword strategy. It's a little different than your main pages, because one thing about blogs is you got a ton of flexibility, and essentially there's different strategies. You can do a number of things. If you're on a local level, or if you have a high authority site, sometimes you can rank for specific keywords, even ones that are fairly competitive. Not many sites have the luxury of being able to do that. What you can do though is just, and I'll show you an example from our own situation, is you can rank for niche keywords, ones that not a ton of people are searching for, but you know what? Get a number of posts together with those sorts of things, and you can actually get a reasonable amount of traffic from those. And then the other thing you can do with blog posts is write posts that support your other pages. So quick example off the top of my head, if we were doing, say, digital marketing company was the homepage sort of optimized keyword, I might write a post of, say, that the title might be, and it would be optimized for this term, it might be selecting a digital marketing company. And then if we were to do that, we would then write quite an educational and insightful post about the things that people should consider when picking somebody. And then after the educational portion, we break it out and say, by the way, if you're interested in digital marketing services, please, check out our services, and we'd have a link to that homepage. So in that case, you have a topic that you've written about that is exactly relevant to what you're optimizing for on that homepage. Or it could be a service page. Could be writing about email, do a blog post about email marketing. You would absolutely link that to your email marketing page. Digital advertising, whatever it is, you write that support post, write a great informative post on that, link it to that page, and then that on-site linking focus raises the prominence of that main page. So in that case, the blog is taking a bit of a support role, the blog post, but absolutely it adds a ton of value and is huge in terms of on-site SEO strategy. And if you can actually, I look at the number of questions and getting a bit scared here, but we will wrap up. I will just quickly show, I think I've got, different browser. Yeah, so Google Search Console. If you don't have Google Search Console, get it, absolutely. It runs, same with Google Analytics. If you happen not to have Google Analytics, go get it, install it. These tools are both free. And you see in Google Search Console, it's looking at recent traffic trends on the Plus ROI site where we do some blogging and actually have some traffic. And it's like, oh, it's showing the queries, which is what people typed into Google. And what we showed, it's like, oh, Google Analytics get total visitors. This is related to a blog post that's now got something like 12,000 visits over the couple of years it's been up, still getting traffic. How to find number of visitors in Google Analytics. Google Analytics number of visitors. Stages of SEO. And that's funny, I've been talking about the stages of SEO in the blog for a little bit. I think there's a post or two, but now all of a sudden it's like, wow. So this is what I would call a niche topic. And you can identify niche topics by doing keyword research. So that process we went through before and identifying topics that don't have huge competition, but do have some relevance to your offering. So you can find it through doing that research, or once you've been at it for a while, this is a great sort of it's like, oh, hey, there's people, we got almost a 10% click-through rate. And I mean, 7 is not a huge number, but if something is showing up in here, that suggests there's, oh, and then there's 46 and 3 more clicks down here. That suggests that there's a lot of opportunity out there. Cool thing you can do too is if I click on export, you can actually download this sheet, which usually just takes a second or two, fingers crossed. Oh, there we go. And so all of a sudden, here's, if you, oops, somebody's typed in a really long query. All of a sudden, it shows number of clicks over the period of time you have in there. It shows the impressions, your click-through rate. So 76% of people that saw the result for Plus ROI click through. And it shows your average position for that term. So, and this is where if you were going to rank your average position for keywords, this is probably the best place to do it. I wouldn't get too hung up on that. I'd focus on doing the right things and sort of not get too hung up on the monthly exact rankings, because Google's pretty fickle on that front, but that's where that organic search traffic metric is great. And I can see I lied, I did go a minute after 11, so I'm going to stop with any formal presentation right now. Again, thanks for everybody's attention. We'll answer some questions, hang out, have some discussion, and if obviously welcome to go at any time, and we will make the presentation available through video. So thanks very much, and let's have a look at questions. Yuri, have you got any highlight questions there?
Yeah. So we got a question from Rochelle, and her question is, what is the best strategy around high intent but high competition keywords? Would it be advised to keep looking for high intent, low competition, or is there a quicker, better solution?
Well, this will sound sort of biased. The quicker, better solution is to run Google Ads. That's the only way you're going to show up in the near term for high intent, high competition keywords, unless you already have a really authoritative site. So what I would say is yeah, definitely. Well, it's funny because we're in a situation as an agency where we go and do work for companies, and quite frankly, if we don't see results within about 90 days, we get fired. So self-preservation, I'm very upfront with clients about that and sort of say, hey, we're going to look at a strategy where hopefully we can get some results this quarter versus 2 years from now. So that said, as a site owner, you probably have a blend. Like you might pick a real high competition keyword and focus on that. Sometimes as well. So for example, if I was trying to optimize for internet marketing company for lawyers, or internet marketing company for startups, or one of those, that's kind of a double-barreled one, because you have that high intent one of, say, internet marketing for lawyers. That's going to be lower volume, it's going to be less competitive, but it also includes that high competition keyword. So in that case, you're kind of chipping away at both. But the long story short is it's kind of like an investment portfolio where you pick a few things that you can count on for immediate sort of results and stable small results. And then you might pick a few things like some really high competition ones that in your portfolio that aren't going to pay off in the near term, but could be huge if they go big.
Awesome. And we have another question from Kirk, who asks, how does domain authorities ranking work? And are low numbers better than high numbers?
Yeah, so domain authority, and I didn't spend a lot of time on that, but essentially, I think I've still got page open. So this domain authority is a ranking of 1 to 100. So it's a ranking out of 100, so that the higher the better. It's also, they say that it's algorithmic. I don't fully believe that, but essentially to go higher, it gets harder and harder as you get to the higher and higher numbers. So it's, and basically what happens is what the tool does is, bearing in mind that Google doesn't make their search algorithm public, they make parts of it public, but things like they've stated that sort of SSL, like having HTTPS, that's part of it. The speed of your load time is part of it. So they mentioned some things, but they truly don't. And an interesting one is in the follow versus no follow links, it's come out that they may actually give more emphasis than previously stated to your no follow links, which are links from like social media and places where there's a no follow tag, so that Google doesn't follow them. But basically what Moz.com does is it looks at all the different factors that it considers to be part of the Google algorithm and then assigns your ranking based on that. So it's not going to be perfect, but again, it's kind of the best one that we know of.
Great. And from Cedar, who asks, is it a good idea to include a few priority hashtags into the content of a page to get more visitors?
I don't think the hashtags will relate to web search. Don't quote me on that 100%, but I don't believe that there is carryover into that. So super relevant, like on Instagram, not relevant on web pages unless something's changed that I'm not aware of.
Awesome. And 2 more websites to circle back to do a bit of a review. mdspower.com, and that was from Karina. Yeah.
Yeah, so as I mouse over the top, there it kind of looks like the meta page title might be a bit long. It looks like it looks like the page is trying to optimize for 3 different things. If that's intentionally, there's battery chargers, power inverters, frequency, whatever. So probably want to pick one. And you know what? That's another thing we can do is just see what it looks like in search. To find out if the brand search is working. Actually, here's a great signal over on the side that, you know, we've got the Google My Business in place. There's some images. It looks like it's optimized. Scroll down, it shows reviews. It doesn't show social profiles, but all in all, fairly well fleshed out. But it would be great to do some work to make sure that like any social profiles are showing up there. And yeah, so we need some work. We need to work on identifying what the keywords are going to be for the homepage, and then writing a meta page title so that it will feel, as you see, we're kind of cut off here with the ... and then the same down below with the description. So really, it's a question of taking your highest priority products and finding out sort of who's competing for them. And this is an interesting one where a larger brand company with multiple products may actually choose to sort of focus more on the product pages for the optimization. So it's not like it may not be practical to pick just one product keyword to rank for, but sort of power conversion solutions for critical infrastructure. So maybe there's some keywords around that makes sense. And again, that's where so that might be the homepage one, because you don't want to narrow it down to just one product. That might be not sort of the right thing to do for the company. So it's like, again, it's kind of starting We got no auto suggest at this point. Oh, so power conversion solutions. It's interesting. So what's coming up here is different companies. So that's kind of interesting because that maybe go to the different companies, see what keywords they're ranking for. It doesn't look like they're optimized either. So this is actually a good sign too when you're not finding great examples. That suggests there's some opportunity. And you know what? I'm going to cut off there. Feel free to chime in if there are any more specifics about that one. But I'm at risk of re-going through the whole seminar again. So let's have a look. And I think I saw, was the other website, I had copied one. Signal Operations, was that the one, Yuri? Oh, there we go. Jump in there. Cloud-based bookkeeper. For service-based, but this is great because there's for this company, there's probably going to be some niche keywords. What I'm going to guess though is that probably a typical business operator is not thinking of, oh, I need a cloud-based bookkeeper. They might, it might be a remote bookkeeper or something else. I'm going to guess that they're not up on the current techie terms. So, and maybe I'm wrong. I mean, this is where the research comes into play. And also service-based biz, I'd be pretty tempted to narrow it down for the top industries, if possible. And that's where as well having, interestingly, the Jumpstart Web example is not a bad one of that. Like it serves small local companies, and we kind of narrowed down as legal being the most important. Haven't optimized yet, of course, and that's where again in the blog you can see there's a reflection of focusing on the law firms to attract traffic for that. If I'm being totally honest, we have absolutely not fully executed on that strategy yet. So it's certainly not a perfect example, but that's kind of a way to start thinking of it that really does work if you go down that road. Looking at a few more questions, I'm seeing sort of less common domains like .club or .school. Does that affect domain authority at all? As far as I know, it does not affect authority. Biggest thing really is just having one that makes sense for your business and that people can remember. And finally, one more question. Does a keyword in a subdomain have the same ranking effect as a domain page? And Ryan can jump in and override me if I'm not 100% correct here, but a subdomain is typically seen, there's the thought that it would be seen as associated with the domain, but having a separate subdomain is not going to have the same implications as having a page on the site. So if possible for any main keywords, you want those keywords on the main site. And if I'm misinterpreting that question, if it's actually asking whether having the keyword in the subdomain itself makes sense, then the impact of that has gone down dramatically. There used to be lots of, call them different names, but like exact match domains where companies would bid heavily on getting a domain name that actually had keywords in it. And so like in our example, it would be like, oh, webmarketing.com or webmarketingcanada.com if we're trying to rank for Web Marketing Canada. And that used to carry quite a bit of value and relevance, but like with everything that looks kind of like a bit of a trick, Google got onto it and changed it so it doesn't really have much impact. This is great. I'm slowly scaring people away, but we have still have some folks on, so we'll keep going. Oh, that's great.
I think that question from Cedar's the last one that's been written.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing a couple notes in the chat. So if they're, Yeah, no, that's great. Any other questions or anything we missed? We got the chat window open right now, so if there's anything we missed at all, please just jump in there. And otherwise, as mentioned, if we don't see something there in a moment or two, we'll wrap it up. But as mentioned, I'm always available to chat, answer questions, very approachable. And yeah, with that said, thanks everyone for the kind messages in the chat, and look forward to seeing you around possibly on the next one. Thanks very much.
Thanks.